Just watch the show.
Alan doesn't do auditions. You just hire him.
I like just a nice, clear email saying, "Would you like the part?"
Force an audition. And they're like, well, you then just let me know what you thought and, in a few days. And she's like, no, you have the role.
Worst thing that could happen is it doesn't work and you don't do it again. I'm a very experiential type of person. And I like to explore different aspects of myself, which I think is also why I like to explore different aspects of characters.
There is one thing that I truly believe in, it when you make an intentional choice in your life and then clear around the space, and then the opportunity starts to pop up.
Every single time that I've been in that moment where I've been concerned that something wasn't going to come, something always did come. If you trust in it, it always comes along. If that's your path, it's that old saying, what's for you won't go by you.
Alan, thank you for your precious time. Alan Burgon.
Thank you for asking for it.
Oh, amazing. You are, and I've known you for some time now, and you are crazily talented. Let's just say the truth as it is. You're an actor, you're a director, you're a podcaster, you're a multi-hyphenate creative, to be honest. You do everything that there just is around. And that's so fascinating. I'm very fascinated about the way you navigate the creative world, like your creative world. So very excited to dive into that with you and Valeria, that both of us can explore your world. And what I want to ask you in the beginning is, what did your creative journey emotionally feel like in your earlier years?
The emotional journey, that's a good question. I guess the start of it emotionally was just trying to figure myself out. Especially because you have all that teenage angst and the hormones are running wild and you don't quite know who you are or what you are or what the hell this life thing is all about. And performing was kind of the only thing where it's the only thing that really felt right, the thing that it never bored me. It never felt like I should be doing something else. Like every other job I tried, and I've done a lot of different varied jobs. I tried a lot of stuff out, part-time things. And I was always able to find fun in what I was doing, but nothing kind of touched my soul quite like performance did.
That is beautiful.
So,
and did you, from the beginning on, and I love it, and did you from the beginning on know you wanted to become an actor and be in the film industry and on stage and all of that?
On reflection, many years later, I realized that it was always there, because when I was 2 years old, I watched the movie Grease like 1 to 3 times every single day. It drove my parents crazy. And I knew all of the words to the songs, I knew all of the dance moves, so I would perform these for my sister and her friends. So she's 10 years older than me. So it was kind of always in my blood, but I moved around a lot when we were growing up. So the first time I moved, I was 4 years old. So I was kind of uprooted from quite a big family. And then we moved again when I was like 8 or 9. So, there was always this kind of trying to assimilate myself into a different group. And the performance aspect was always there. Like when I was a teenager, I would, we would have the video camera out quite a lot, and, we'd just, make stuff up. And I would always kind of make characters for these interviews. And I was always the guy with the guitar at the party, like singing around the fire or something. So the performance aspect was always there. I just didn't know that that's what I wanted to pursue, because teachers and family members were all wanting me to go down the road of civil engineering because I was good at technological studies and physics and things in school. But it kind of bored me. I did advanced higher physics for 2 weeks in 6th year of high school, because we did higher physics in 5th year And then in my naivety, I thought that we would be like doing quantum mechanics or something in 6th year. It was like advanced higher. That's got to be the exciting stuff. It wasn't. We just basically added an extra battery pack to check the ohms resistance with an extra battery. So I was kind of out after 2 weeks with boredom. But it wasn't until... So I had no clue what I wanted to do. And friends of mine said, well, there's the Popstars competition, which is what X Factor basically turned into over time. And they'd already done it for like a couple of years. And they're like, look, there's another contest going on. Why don't you audition for it? You should go and do that. So I did. And this was the competition that Girls Aloud came out of, because it was Popstars, the Rivals. So they were looking for a boy band and a girl band. And, I did pretty well. I got down to like the last 32 or something of the boys, and, didn't get any further because I'm not a dancer. And apparently they were looking for that as well. But I just kind of remember when I was knocked out, there were so many people around me who were like crying and they were really upset. I had this like massive smile on my face when I phoned my folks, because I was like, I got pretty far. This was what an experience. Wow. Because I never really wanted to be in a boy band anyway. If it had happened, I would have grabbed it with both hands and, it's like, where does this take me? But it wasn't meant to be. So after that, I still had no clue what I wanted to do. And again, a friend said, well, they have a performing arts course at the college that I'm attending. You should do that. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I phoned up. Well, actually, first of all, I went back to my folks and I said, hey, I want to go off to college. And this was 2 weeks before the course started. So my dad had like a little panic attack and immediately went to his computer to try and work out all the finances. And, they were also very upset that I had just decided I was leaving and it was going to happen in 2 weeks. They had no time to come to terms with the idea, but I guess it was kind of just like ripping off a Band-Aid. And it's kind of how I've always operated. I always kind of, if something feels good, I jump on it and just like, hey, I'm going to do this now.
Oh, I love that.
But anyway, within the space of 2 weeks, I got myself an audition. I went down and did the audition, got the place, found an apartment and moved. And that was a 1-year course, after which I still didn't know what I wanted to do. And the teachers there said, hey, we're starting a musical theatre course. Why don't you do that? So I did. And throughout those 2 years, I realized that it was more acting that I was gravitating towards. So I auditioned for the 2 like kind of top drama schools in Scotland, which is the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama. At that point, it's now the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and Queen Margaret's in Edinburgh. I had the audition for Queen Margaret's first and got accepted. And they had put me down as, like, they had basically registered me as going to that university. And then I got accepted to the academy, and that was the one I wanted to go to. So I also had this long process where I had to battle with Queen Margaret to release me, because it was like, as of the 15th of whatever month it was, wherever I was registered to attend, that was where I was going. And I think it was like the day before that I finally got them to release me from their registrar so that I could get put onto the academies. And that was kind of the start. It was that as soon as I started at the academy, I was just like, yeah, this is right now. Now it feels like the right thing to do. And then I kind of stopped letting the world and people around me decide for me. And then I started kind of realizing, yeah, okay, I'm starting to see the path now.
Yes, this is this is exactly what we love to hear, that you finally found yourself and that it feels organic to you now. But it was quite a path. Oh my God, Greece, X Factor auditions, and not only auditions, but you've got, as you said, quite far. Quantum mechanics.
Yeah, right. But it was awesome, because I should have actually been kicked out a round before because I forgot my words. I thought that I would do something snazzy by starting off with a dance move and did this thing where I kicked out my leg and did a little spin. and then faced the audience again, and I completely blanked. But that afternoon before the recall, we'd all been sitting in this big, and I was singing that song from The Calling, Wherever You Will Go. And I blanked on stage, and all of a sudden from the back of the auditorium, this group of people started singing that song because it was them that I had sung it to during the break. And so I just kind of picked up on it and just continued to sing it. And I got off the stage, and it was Louis Walsh who was there as one of the judges. And I walked past him and I said, "It's like, look, I'm really sorry. Could you please just like give me another shot, because I don't know why I forgot." And he just kind of looked at me and just went, "You're fine." So,
Yes,
yeah,
I'm a bit of a
they saved me in that
fangirling
round.
because I used to love X Factor. And was it the year before or after One Direction? Because I was quite following that one. Thing. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
And imagine like your journey is, you kind of, as you said, you ripped the Band-Aid, you made the decision, and then you followed through on that one. And, your parents, your family kind of had to make their peace with your decision, which is pretty cool at the young age. I have to give it to you. But imagine if someone wanted to narrow you down creatively, which happens to a lot of people, and not only in the creative world. What do you think that kind of way of exploring life and your creative opportunities gave you early on? What kind of opportunities presented themselves along the way?
Yeah.
And how do you process them maybe now that you're more mature and more established?
It's a good question. I don't know how I don't even know how I pin myself down creatively, because I have so many interests in all avenues of performance. Even though I say I'm not a dancer, I can move. I've got rhythm and things. You teach me a dance, I can do it. Just don't
We
ask me to
believe
freestyle,
you.
because right.
Wait a second, we're not going to ask him to.
Can you dance on the table for us?
Dance.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah. I mean, the only time in an audition where I got complimented on my dancing was an audition for Shrek, where we had to dance as the monsters. And because I'm not a trained dancer, dancing like this was fine for me. And it's the one and only time that I've ever been singled out to say, it's like, yeah, look what Alan's doing. Alan's like doing it like loose, like a monster. Everyone else needs to kind of do it a bit loose. I was like, yes. The one and only time I will ever get complimented above dancers. But I really don't know how you would pin it down. I mean, so Philip Thorne, who is one of the creators of a podcast I do, the Amelia Project, said to somebody once when we were there that he said, "Oh yeah, Alan's a chameleon," because he'd seen me once before in something and kind of forgot that he'd seen me in the previous show because the character was very different. And I've once also managed to fool my family when they came to see Panto, and they thought I had a day off. I was playing one of the dames. I was playing one of the ugly sisters. And it wasn't until I did something with my hand that my sister nudged my mum and was like, "That's Alan." And especially doing audio work, so doing podcasts and things, where all you have is the voice. The first time that our sound designer from the Amelia Project met me, we were in Oslo at the launch party. And Øystein Braga, the other creator of the Amelia Project, was like, "Oh, Freddie, by the way, this is Alan." And he was just like, "Okay, nice to meet you." It's like, "Wait, Alan?" It's like, "Yeah." It's like, "I thought you would be like twice as old and like 4 times the size," because all he had was the voice. It's one of the reasons why I love doing audio work so much. And when I'm performing in theatre, you get this opportunity a little bit more than in film to really work on characters. Like I love exploring completely different characters. Like how does this character move? How do they think? How do they think about themselves? How do they see the world? So that chameleon is kind of how I approach my work. If I'm offered something which is completely different to anything I've done before, I'm just like, okay, well, I have to do that. I have to jump on that chance because I don't know what's going to be at the other end of that experience and what it's going to lead to. That's why I also have done 3 years in a row now this improv evening. I was asked to do the first time. It's just like a small event, but it's in an art gallery, and the idea is a musician and an actor improvise to the art in the room. So we just kind of bounce off of each other and off of the art. And the first time I did it, I was like, this is terrifying, but yeah, okay, let's give it a go. Let's see what happens. And it just ended up turning into this kind of spoken word with improvised songs. And it was so much fun. And then I've done it like a further 2 times. And it's one of those things that when I speak to some actors and they're like, but I would never do that. It's like, that sounds terrifying. It's like, yeah, it was terrifying, but hey, what's the worst that could happen? It's like the worst thing that could happen is it doesn't work and you don't do it again. So you still get that learning experience from it. It's like, hey, tried it, not for me. I'll try something else next time. But if you don't jump at the chance, you'll never find that out. So yeah.
Ditto. Yes. If you don't jump at the chance, you never know what at the other end of it. 100%.
Absolutely.
It's interesting also, you told us that you have, you decided to really invest your life energy only into your creative work.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where you were doing, as we know, you do multiple things.
Yeah.
And what has changed in your life since you made that decision? Has anything changed? Is it?
Yeah, loads has changed. Because I was, when I moved over here to begin with, I had no network. I moved over because my, at the time, girlfriend was from Austria, very quickly became my fiance. And I was like, hey, let's move to Vienna for a year. It's now been 16.
Let's come for a year.
But, yeah, right. 16 years later, it's like, so tell us about your life here. So I had no network when I moved over here. So I did Ausbildung. Sometimes I forget the English
I
word.
love your speaking German. I love it.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I trained to be a personal trainer as well in my spare time when I was working at a theatre straight out of drama school. Again, just a kind of safety. I was like, okay, I don't want to have to work in restaurants and things all the time. So if I do personal training, I can at least, I can create my own timetable. So I was doing that when I moved over here for a couple of years. And my, it was kind of like income from personal training was here, income from acting was here. And at the point where it kind of flipped, I was like, okay, now I need to get rid of the personal training and I need to focus on the acting. But it wasn't easy. I was still having to do other jobs that came through, like even if it's just like proofreading stuff or, just like one-to-one tuition with English and stuff, just trying to find some way of paying the bills to begin with. And there just kind of came this point where I was like, you know what, I just need to make this decision for myself that all the money I earn needs to come through filming, theatre, television, commercials, voiceovers, podcasting. I teach acting as well, or, doing acting workshops. It can be from any of those things, but it all has to be within that umbrella industry, which is the performance industry. And when I made that decision, things just started coming because I guess the way I kind of looked at it so I'll give you an example. I was running a theatre company, so co-running a theatre company with some friends. And it took up a huge amount of my energy. It was at least 40 to 60 hours every week that I was investing. And it was kind of like it was this huge bubble in my life. You're surrounded by bubbles that kind of occupy your space. You've got your family, your friends, you've got work, you've got other commitments. And for me, the way I imagined it at that point was like they were all bubbles that were just surrounding me. And when I handed over the theatre, it was like this enormous bubble just popped and opened up space for other things to fill it. And, things start to fill in pretty fast, I've found, when you genuinely make that decision. And, it's not, I want to make this decision. You genuinely make the decision and you are dedicated to following through with it. As soon as you kind of make that decision, things just start finding you. And I'm lucky now that I've got to the stage where I quite often have to say, sorry, I don't have time for that. Because, I've got this thing or that thing, or, I'm in a very, I feel very grateful and very privileged to be in that position. But I would never have got to this position if I hadn't just said yes to everything that came along first.
How did you find that trust in you to, I mean, it's a big leap, it's and it can be scary. And I know you have a beautiful son, and it's not like you're just responsible for yourself. Where did you find that trust, or how did you take those steps?
I think we all have this thing of us whereby when we're doing one job, you're afraid that you'll never get another one. There's always that fear, what if this is my last job? We dwell on the good times so much because it's like something that has been and gone and will never come again, and we don't trust that it will come again. And after a while, I just after a couple of years, I just realized every single time that I've been in that moment where I've been concerned that something wasn't going to come, something always did come. The fact that I just stuck with it and, that made that point of saying, no, I'm not going to go and take on a job in this business because I want to stay with my plan. Something else always comes along. If you trust in it, it always comes along. If that's your path, it's that old saying, what's for you won't go by you. And also learning to understand that those auditions that you do that you don't get, you're not supposed to get them. Because this is also when we're kind of starting out, you do 20 auditions and you don't get a single one of them. And then you think, oh God, I must be really bad. It's like, this isn't working for me. It's like, no. It's, you just have to keep going. It's just, it hasn't been the right one yet. You can do 100 e-castings a year. If you're lucky to get 100 e-castings a year, you'll maybe get like 5 jobs at the most. But hey, 5 jobs in a year, that's a pretty good average for an actor. If you can land 5 jobs a year, and if all it takes you is 100 e-castings to find them, or 150, who cares? 200, who cares? Just keep doing them. If you manage to get a handful of jobs each year, then you're doing it. Then it's working.
If there is one thing that I truly believe in is exactly what you said, that when you make an intentional choice in your life and then clear around the space, and then the opportunity starts to pop up. And then the other thing that you have to act on them, of course, because they can be there somewhere in the mix, and then you're like, then I'm probably going to pass on that one, and that one is not the perfect choice. That's not going to do any good for you. And continue on this exploration, you shared with us during the pre-talk that you experienced something that probably a lot of actors dream, is that one of the directors in the independent world saw your show reel, and then they immediately wanted to work with you without any audition, and they offered you a job. What I'm wondering is, like, what was going on emotionally when he reached out. I assume it's a Polish director, right? He reached out and
German director.
German,
Yes.
sorry. You were saying you were coming back from Poland or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, mixed up
No
a few
worries.
things. And then, how did that made you? What did you experience inside of you? Was it like a pure joy?
Complete disbelief.
Complete disbelief.
Yeah, there was no joy to begin with. I was just really confused. I reached out to my agent at the time and I was just like, I don't understand. There's like 3 points in this email where it sounds like I'm being offered the part. It's like, where's the audition? It's like, what's going on? And I was in London at the time. What was I there for? I think I was there for one of my personal training workshops. And met up with a bunch of my actor friends. I was staying with one of my close friends from drama school there. And the director wanted to have a Skype call with me. So I ended up having the Skype call in my friend Owen Whitelaw's living room in London. And it was a really bad connection. He was in like Thailand or somewhere. It was very broken, the signal. He is an older German man and was speaking English with me. And, the accent with the broken connection is that I was really struggling to hear what he was saying. But obviously I really wanted to hear everything that he was saying. It's like, don't mess this up now. And he just talked to me a little bit about Vienna and how he'd been there a couple of times and how he loved the city and stuff. And we just had a bit of a chat. And after like 5 minutes, he was like, okay, so you want to do this? I was just like, yes. And that was it. And
Amazing.
yeah, it was just an email out of the blue for one of the main parts in an independent feature film. And, I arrived there on the set for that film and, I thought I had made it. I was like, this is it. This is the step that I've been waiting for, because I'd been running the theatre company and, all of us who were running it, we were like investing so much time and energy into it. We were having to do multiple roles in that theatre company. And I remember sitting, because it was a war film, so an action film. And I remember we were in these old like castle ruins, and they were setting up one of the shots. And I had a little bit of a break, so I went and sat on the wall with my military gear on, with my book and a cup of coffee. And the producer Daria one of the producers walked past, and she's just like, we'll need you in about 20 minutes. I think, great, I'll be right here. And it was just such chalk from the work that I had been doing up until that point, and then to be just given this part and be transported to this other world where people are treating you like you're a star because you're the main actor in the film. And I really thought I'd made it, which I hadn't. It's like not in the way that I had thought anyway, but I still kind of reflect and meditate on the feeling that I had during that time, because it's like, yeah,
that's good.
Because even though the moment has passed, I'm also of a firm belief that no matter at what point it is in your timeline, you have it. All of these times when we say it's like, you find yourself, for example, when I go away, I used to always think, oh, it would be so amazing to be able to like go to these places for work and, like to be in these places. And then all of a sudden you need to check yourself and say, you are in this place for your work. You don't need to worry. It's kind of the same thing about worrying about when the next job is coming. You don't need to worry about it happening sometime in the future. Just truly enjoy that you have it in that moment. And, get rid of all that stress. It's just, rather than wishing, when is the next time going to be? It's just like, no, I'm here now. I have it. It's in my life already.
I feel like that's what you've shared is that you had this experience of making it, and truly for the nervous system, there is not that much of a difference between, you're truly making it and you experiencing as you made it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a good reference point, that this experience, how it feels, how to walk it. And so, well, hope it attracts more to you, and it certainly does. And I imagine
And
you
if you
being...
don't know, just pretend.
Yes. Fake it until you make it.
Exactly.
Though I treat
Absolutely.
this expression sometimes, cautiously, because it also has a little bit less positive connotations, but let's leave it aside. Being a personal trainer and someone who obviously is very self-disciplined person, how do you think that helps you with this?
I think it definitely helps me at some points. I'm a very extreme person, so I do have a lot of discipline, but I can also have none at all. If I make the decision, it's always a decision. And the older I get, the more I realize that I can make the decision to be very disciplined for a few months if I need to be. But I can also make the decision that, if people are going out for a night out, after we've like wrapped up and stuff and people are having a few beers and stuff, I will fully invest in that evening. I'm still a Scotsman, I still have that party vibe in me.
I thought you were going to say, I will fully invest in that beer. I don't know. I just had the feeling you were going to say that. I will fully invest in it.
But at the same time, I do have this very disciplined, structured side to me. But as I've said to a few people in the past, I'm a very experiential type of person. I like to explore different aspects of myself, which I think is also why I like to explore different aspects of characters. If I have a really important job the next morning, I'm going to go to bed early and I'm going to get enough sleep. If I have nothing to do the next morning and we've just, got to the premiere of a theatre play, or, we've wrapped a film, I'm going to enjoy myself. It was the same last week in Poland. We went out for dinner. I had one day and I'd finished this project. And this is a project that we started in 2019. This is with the same director who I had this Skype call with, who just said, "Hey, you want to work together?" It's like, "Yes, I do." And I wrote an episode for an anthology that he had come of stories all surrounding COVID-19. And when he was in the editing room with his editor, they decided that they wanted to expand one of the episodes into a full series, and that was this episode with my character that I'd helped write. We were filming everything in Ukraine, mainly in Kiev. Throughout the pandemic, we still managed to film there like 3 or 4 times, managed to get permission. But then the war hit, and that threw another spanner in the works. So they did go back into Kiev once, I think. I was asked if I would go along. I've already filmed in a war zone before. I was in Kabul in 2015. But I wasn't a father then. This time round, being a father, I was like, you know what? I've already been into an active war zone. I'm glad I made that experience. But right now, I don't. The risk reward ratio is too great for me. I have somebody else's life that's dependent on me keeping mine. So it has been a struggle. But this block last week in Poland was the final block. And I had my filming day. We all went out for dinner. Everyone else was filming the next day. I was like, you know what, guys? I walked past this bar yesterday when I was here, and I heard them sound checking the drum kits, because I'm a musician as well. And I was like, I heard them sound checking the drum kit, and it was just like, I need to go and check it out. So I'm just gonna swing by and just have a beer and just see what's happening. It's this live music venue. And I walk in there, this like small, subterranean bar, and guys are just kind of going up and jamming with each other. So I'm there standing at the bar on my own, having a beer with this big smile on my face, kind of moving to the beat. And after the second guy got up to sing, I was just like, hey, is this like an open thing? Can anybody do this? Or, is this a planned thing? And they're like, no, anybody can. So I just walked up and said, can I join? They're like, yeah, go for it. And I ended up just, improvising some jazzy, bluesy songs with these amazing musicians in this bar for an hour and a half. And then afterwards they were like, hey, let's go to this other place. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll come along. And they bought me a beer. And then I drunk a couple of sips of it, left it, and, left for the evening because I'd had my experience and, that was what I was going for. And then afterwards I was like, no, I'm beyond that stage, but going down there and just like jamming with these guys, it's so much fun. I loved it.
Wow. Okay, I am taking this with me. And from now on, I'm going to dive head on, really, more and more into what you're talking about. Experiencing as much as I can, as fully as I can. And there's something about you that you do that. Also that you're aware of your luck, you're aware of, and you also cherish it. Like I had a similar thing with the first feature that I was in, Angels Never Cry, and the director saw me in LA on a film set for a short film. And then afterwards she was like, would you like to play this role, in the feature? And I was like, yeah. And for me, it sounded, do you want to audition for it? Because for me, it was clear I'm auditioning. And then I went over there and I was like, well, do you want me to play the scene? And she was like, if you want to. And I'm like, no, do you want me to audition for you? Like, I was so confused that I forced an audition up on her. Like, I auditioned because I was like, you have to audition. Like, and she's like, yeah. And then I did. And they're like, well, you then just let me know what you thought. And, in a few days. And she was like, no, you have the role. You had it all along. And I was oh, because I wasn't aware of it. I was like, what? Oh, I got it. So thank you for talking about that, because that is very important, that we also are aware of our luck and the beauty that is surrounding us and the steps that we have taken. And, even if it's I don't care, you guys, if you just one commercial or your first short, and even if the short was 1 minute, I don't care. Like, celebrate it. It's all of that. So I think that is beautiful.
Commercials are great. I've done a few of them, and I've never kind of snubbed my nose up at them. I know a lot of people don't want to do them, which I respect as well. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. But again, for me, it's kind of that thing of, I don't really want to actively make the choice to remove possible experiences from my life. And I've had great times on commercial sets. I did one for Mercedes just a few months ago. And, it was like 9 days in Madrid. It's like, and I only had like one filming day. I had like 4 or 5 days off. I had to work for my other work in between time, but it was great. Like, you're on set and you get to drive a brand new Mercedes. It's like, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah. So now the next where I want to go into is the Amelia project. Project. And what I would like to ask you, and there's 2 things, because I have to say this. Can you sing for us? I don't know why. I have this feeling I wanted to sing for us. But what I want to ask you about the Amelia project is, what do you think audio storytelling can do emotionally that film and theater can't? And then please sing.
Well, to answer your first question, what can it do that? Well, first of all, it can save you a hell of a lot of budget, because you don't need a set, and you can basically create sets in the mind that that there's no limit. Audio drama is wonderful. There's not an awful lot of money in it. The whole kind of concept around podcasts is that they're free to listen to. So with the Amelia project, we're kind of we're on Patreon, but we are completely dependent on our Patreon supporters to, sponsor us with money per episode. Because if it wasn't for their support, we genuinely wouldn't be able to do it. We do get a little bit of money for it, but I mean, compared to the other work I do, it's like a thank you for your time. We definitely don't do it to get wealthy, but it is hugely rewarding work, because there are also a lot of people who get in touch with us quite often, which really surprised us, and it still surprises me when people write in to say that our podcast really helped them through a difficult period in their life, or like and I'm kind of thinking, it's a fictional podcast. We're just telling stories, but people really invest in the characters and in the storylines. And the fact that our attempt to entertain can also help people through difficult times they're having, it blows my mind. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I do think a big part of that is that it is just so you are allowed to just go into your own thoughts. So you don't have the pictures of the film that you're watching, or you don't have the audience around you when you're sitting in the theater, that you're very aware of being one in a big crowd. You can listen to audio drama anywhere. And because you don't have to focus on any of the other senses when you consume the story, your mind just has free rein to wander where it wants to wander. And I think this is that may well be potentially why it's helped so many people through difficult times. But
I
yeah, the budget
wholeheartedly agree.
is a definite one.
Yeah, because I love reading, but listening to audiobooks, especially if there is audio drama and the person has a calm and nice voice, and exactly, your mind just drifts, and I can listen 6 hours if I have nothing else. I can walk, I can do some manual things, but it's a cure for any type of life issues. I can tell you, and the podcast as well. That's like two of my favorite mediums. Films, of course, but then you have to have a more immersive experience. Thank you so much for sharing this. And I think we have maybe one more question left to ask you. What I want to ask you is, how do you approach the topic of self-promotion and putting yourself out there? Because also I had experience, I lived in Scotland, I know British culture and Scottish culture in particular. And I feel like you guys are more self-reserved. So it's very difficult maybe to approach the subject of putting yourself out there. That's what I struggle mostly with. And attract visibility, being there and enjoy it at the same time. How do you approach that self-promotion?
Also, for years I hated it. I still kind of hate it, to be honest. Like self-promotion, it's one of those. There are a number of things kind of banded about in the industry. It's like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. There's certain ways of doing it, which I think is bullshit. I don't think there's a certain way that you have to do anything, because I think that everything is very specific to the type of person you are. For example, there is, and not mentioning projects or names or anything, but there is a certain actor who I came into contact with, is unbelievably good at self-promotion. This person gives their business cards out left, right, and center. Takes artistic license with the stories that he tells about his experiences. and kind of demands to be interviewed and, be seen.
Love it.
And it's a type of behavior that I personally would never do because it's not my character, but it's working for them. So it's kind of like, you know what? If that's the type of person you are, go for it. Absolutely, 100% go for it. It's not the type of person I am, which is why I find the kind of self-promotion thing to be a little bit... It's something that I have to remind myself that it's a part of the industry. When my wife, Maria Lone, who you guys interviewed as well.
Yes, fantastic.
Wonderful guest.
Creative too, an actress and very talented.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And when she started working as a casting assistant, she then got the access to the casting director's side of filmmakers. And I was like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, type in 40-year-old guy, like in the Vienna area, whatever. Let's see me pop up. And I didn't pop up.
Oh,
And I think I was 38 at the time, and I had my age down. I hadn't changed my playing age in years. I kind of set it all up and then kind of forgotten about it. And so I was 38, and I was basically advertising to the world, I can play my own age or 15 years younger. That's my area. So I immediately went and changed my playing age. And that kind of helped me to understand just how important it is to have everything up to date on your casting platforms, because people type in the criteria they're looking for. And, I've got colleagues as well who play a little bit of guitar, and they just had it up there, and one of them got a job because he had down plays guitar. And when he got asked to play guitar for this audition, he was terrified because he didn't really play guitar, but he played enough to strum a few chords, and that was all they needed, and he got the job. So it really is that thing of, no matter what the skill is, if you can do it just a little bit, put it up there. Because if they're looking for that specific skill set and you can do it, but you haven't said that you can do it, you won't pop up in the system when they type in their filters. So that for me is like one of the important things about self-promotion, is that, don't be shy about the skills that you have. Don't feel that you're going to come across as arrogant or egotistical if you list 50 things that you can do. Who cares? Everyone's going to criticize. More people are going to criticize you for these things than are going to accept it. So just accept that fact and do it, because, that opens you up to more possibilities. But I think as well, for me, when I realized that I am not interested in schmoozing with people, like I'm not interested in going up and speaking to people with the hopes of getting work or a casting out of it. If you just have a genuine interest for people, which I do, I love chatting with people. I love getting to know people. And when I realized, okay, I can just do that when I go to events. I don't need to add this extra layer of networking into the type of person I am. If I just go and I just have fun at these events the way I normally would, then I end up chatting to people anyway, because that's just what happens. The social media thing took me a long time to kind of become okay with. You see all these people who are taking videos of themselves and, speaking directly to the camera. That took me a long time to get comfortable doing, until I realized, what, literally everybody is out there doing this and nobody cares.
Yeah.
The world has got to the stage where they can walk past you on the street doing it and they don't bat an eyelid because they're so used to seeing it. And, for the slightly younger generations, it's completely normal. For me, wasn't normal. We didn't grow up with smartphones. This is not normal behavior in my head. But
like,
it is becoming
hi.
normal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to pinch yourself that this is okay. This is new normal. Like, you're not doing anything out of what everyone else is doing. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the turning point for me in that regard was because whenever I was away, I would always record videos for my son, just like telling him where I was and what I was doing and stuff. And I was like, okay, that doesn't come across as fake. When I'm speaking to him, it doesn't come across as fake. But I couldn't just post those videos because I'm calling him my pet name for him. I'm speaking directly to him and to Maria. So it's that's not for the public. But when I kind of realized, actually you can speak to the camera like you would just speak to anybody, like you're speaking to a friend, like you're speaking to family. So when I'm giving these kind of updates on my Instagram or whatever, it's always to do with work or where I am. And I'm just kind of in my head thinking, what if I'm just speaking to my best friend or, a member of my family? How would I explain this situation to them? And yeah, that's kind of helped me with the whole social media self-promotion.
Talking about self-promotion.
It's time
Ambitchiously
for one.
Intelligent. Please, if you're still here with us, subscribe. It really helps us. Just hit that button. It doesn't cost anything, and it would help us immense that we just get this out to more people and that more gorgeous souls are able to see like how we can support each other. And I think we're learning from each other and the stories, like Alan, like your path. It's not linear. It never is. And it's totally different than the other ones we've had, even Maria's. Even though you are a couple and have been together forever, it's still totally different. And that's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yes. What a wonderful note. And thank you for honestly sharing this, because I think everyone is struggling with this, like even people who are in the industry and who are quite used to putting themselves on tape, but this is like a performative aspect, and then you have to come up as your own person, as yourself, and that's where the trouble begins, and all of your own things and expectations of yourselves and other people also pops up. What I've learned from you today is that everything has to have an intention and then the power and decision behind it. So even if you decided on that day that you don't want to, particularly experimenting with self-discipline and you want to just go relax and have fun, that also has to have to be a decision and not just like a random thing. And that is beautiful. What I want to ask for our audience, what are your usual channels to reach out? If someone want to work with you, what is the best way to reach out to you?
I mean, the only things I use on a regular basis, Instagram is the thing that I'm most on. But, I have my website, alanburgon.com, which is not kept up to date as often as it should be. My agent, if anyone is, wanting to see me for film worker stuff, please get in touch with Crawford Talents.
Yeah. And Alan doesn't do auditions. You just hire him. No, I'm joking.
Just watch the show.
Just watch the show. You
I
will know.
I like just a nice, clear email saying, "Would you like the part?" And that would be wonderful.
And we'll make sure to put up all the information in the show notes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for this conversation, for making the time, and for exploring all of those topics with us. We enjoy it to the fullest.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It was a lot of fun.